Am I audible? Hello? Okay, good. So I'm from an organization called Quality Growth Services, and we are based out of New Delhi. So we are going to discuss about one of the hottest topic we have these days, business continuity management. So the standard which ISO standard which we are going to discuss about today is 22301 2019. And so my presentation and focus will be more on how organization can roll out BCMS in their organization. So we will discuss about that part today. So we are going to discuss not only about BCMS, so we are going to discuss about risk management, how 31000 is the integral part of a business continuity management system. And then we are going to discuss about steps needs to be taken for establishing effective BCMS. And then how organizations shall respond to a situation where COVID-19 like situation happens. So what all steps organization shall take? So let's start with the BCMS. The biggest takeaway I have seen in when we talk about BCMS is that organization once established BCMS, they always know what needs to be done in case of any disruptive incident. So I always say the flag bearer of business continuity worldwide. Suppose there is any disruptive incident throughout the world in any part of any country, the local governments always rely on army or armed forces for executing this business continuity plan. So the why army is able to or armed forces are able to do that, the reason is because they always have a plan. So they practice how to respond to any disruptive incident. So the biggest takeaway on in this is that you have a strategy and you know how your services are going to be delivered to a customer and what all adherences related to statutory compliances needs to be done if something goes wrong. Another very important aspect, the benefit which you get out of implementing BCMS is that you are able to identify which are risk events which can impact your business continuity. So which are the things which can impact your particular processes, your infrastructure, right? Yeah. Another benefit which you get while doing this is like, so once you establish a BCMS, so you conduct a lot of exercising and testing. You keep on learning. Another input keeps on coming from the incidents which are happening, not only in your organization, but from even in outside world. Suppose for a normal organization, suppose certain a new kind of a virus has come, and how other people have responded, or what kind of impact it has on their IT infra. So you keep on getting learning from all those things, and you can build on those things in your business continuity response plan. So benefit of implementing BCMS is that you know what needs to be done in case of any incident. So your response as well as your recovery time is much better with BCMS as compared to without BCMS. In a way, you get a much more time to much more quick response in case of BCMS. So the negative impact on your financials, on your operational things are much less if you have a BCMS established in your organization. So we are going to discuss about how business continuity, what are the standards requirement for BCMS, and which are the elements needs to be established for effective BCMS in your organization. First and foremost thing which needs to be established is business continuity program. So there are 4 clauses which talk about this part. Are clause 4, which is context of organization, clause 5, which is leadership, clause 6, which is planning, and 8.1, which is talking about operational planning and control. So initially you have to establish a context of our organization based on the basis of internal and external environment issues and related party requirements. So on the basis of this, you shall establish a context. So this is one of the only standard where it also specifically prescribed that you shall also consider legal and statutory requirements while building your context. So when I say legal and statutory requirements, not only for operational things, but in case some incident, some risk materialize, so what shall be your response in how you are going to consider respond on that part also. Like in current situation in a COVID-19, so MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, come up with a requirement where they are saying that organization, all limited companies, private and public limited companies shall submit their business continuity plan along with work from home plan to MCA website before 31st March. So this kind of a requirement can come, right? IRDA have come up with their requirement of submitting a business continuity plan of our organization before 10th of April. So these kind of things can come up at that point of time. The second clause which we are going to discuss is about leadership. When we say leadership, the biggest responsibility of a leadership is to give vision and importance to BCMS in the organization, to set up objectives of BCMS, and then to provide resources to support those objectives, and then establish a BCMS organization inside the company. This third clause is planning. So planning involves, this is very similar to 9001, where you have to do a risk assessment on the basis of context which you have built in clause 4.1 and 4.2. So you need to identify the issues you have to identify risk events relating to issues and opportunities identified during the building the context of the organization, and then you have to do an assessment of on the basis of those for those risk events, and you have to evaluate and then establish a risk treatment plan. Clause 8.1 talk about operational planning. Operational planning has 2 very important aspects. One is identifying risks relating to your processes and prioritization of processes and activities which can impact you much more than other processes. So there are certain processes and activities which are critical and important as compared to other processes. Once you have done that, so next step is to understanding the organization, where you have to do a business impact analysis for all the activities and processes which are part of your organization, and you have to also do a risk assessment for those processes. look in clause 6.1, when you do a risk assessment, you are doing risk assessment in reference with clause 4, which is risk assessment at the organization level. But under clause 8.2, you are doing a risk assessment for a particular process or activity. So for all processes and activities performed under each department needs to be considered a part of risk assessment here. So the process of doing a risk assessment under 8.2 will be different than 6.1, right? Once you have done your BIA and you have done your risk assessment, so you will get the output where you will have establish a prioritization of your process, which process needs to be recovered first and which shall be recovered at a later stage. You will also get an input that what all are interdependencies of these processes. So relationship with other processes. And you will also get to know what all resources are required to run those processes in normal condition as well as during disruption or restarting of those processes. And you also need to identify what all competencies are required to run those operations in normal way and during recovery. So I give you two examples. So running a boiler, the competency required will be a different as compared to when we are restarting that particular boiler, right? And similarly, if you say in service industry, in IT industry, so in the normal operations, when you are monitoring particular important server, what all things need to be monitored and how you have to respond on the events which your system is reporting, as compared to restarting that particular server and bringing back all the services delivered by that particular server. So you need to identify those. So when you are creating your business continuity solution, so you need to consider all these things for establishing apex level body which is responsible for your business continuity program inside the organization. So the responsibility of this team can be divided into two parts. The first part is their responsibility during the normal conditions, right? And their responsibility when there is any disruption, any incident has happened. So they need to prepare on these two aspects. Once you have established your business continuity strategy document, so you need to create business continuity plans and procedures. So here, three kind of documents three category of documents needs to be document needs to be established. The first will be your crisis management document, or you can call an incident response plan. So in incident response plan, basically you are talking about safety of your people and your assets. Basically, how the teams will respond in case of any physical challenge to their infrastructure, right? The second plan which they need to establish is relating to functional recovery. How the process recovery will be done in case of any incident has happened. The third category of document which needs to be established is relating to your IT infrastructure and technology infrastructure. So your engineering control systems, how those will be recovered, your DCS, your normal IT infrastructure, your cloud systems, all these things, your networks. So what will be your strategy in case something goes wrong? Once you have these plans, the next thing needs to be establishes your exercising program, where you will establish what all exercises and testings will be done and at what frequencies they will be done, who will be responsible. And once plan is intact, then you need to demonstrate, you have to keep on doing testing and mock drills and you have to also keep on documenting what are the learnings during those testings, and rebuild those learning inside your plans, and also needs to be updated in your risk registers. This is a continual process which keeps on working. Another thing is you need to establish is performance evaluation process. So when I say performance evaluation, the first thing is you need to have a monitoring system, right? So what all things can be monitored are your changes in internal and external environment, your changing in your organization, your risks pertaining to certain processes, the changes in your vendor management, vendors, or any new subcontractor, critical subcontractor is added, uh, your KPIs relating to various plans which you have established, your key risk indicators which you have, which you need to establish along with your risks identified under clause 6.1. Once you start monitoring these, of course, you're exercising and testing compliance and learnings from them, incident monitoring and learning from them. So these all inputs shall be reported and reviewed by various stakeholders. And the another good method of doing a performance evaluation is of course internal audits. So you can conduct audits at periodic intervals. At QGS, we basically recommend at least 2 or 3 internal audits for critical processes in a year. So that is very important, because then you can come to know about the improvements which needs to be built into the functional recovery plans of those particular processes. Then performance evaluation also involves management review. You all know management review inputs is very similar to ISO 9001. And of course, then improvements. Improvements inputs come from internal audits, from management review inputs, and from your reporting. Wherever there is any issue, you need to have a corrective action relating to those. So these corrective action shall also have to have a relationship with your risk register. Your system is up and running, so you can start enjoying system. I want to discuss about risk management process in detail in context with ISO 31000. So as we were discussing, the first step to establish this is uh, establish scope on the basis of context, which we have built under clause 4, and the criteria for risk management. When I say criteria, so what is the risk appetite of the organization? Uh, how do you, what is your impact scoring? What is your likelihood scoring, which you are going to consider during the risk assessment process? So the biggest input which you get is through communication and consultation with your teams, involvement of various stakeholders. So generally, the stakeholders um, can be your senior management. I want to add one few things here, that in Indian context, so Ministry of Corporate Affairs has given a notification where they have said that a risk committee shall be established by each board. Now, this risk committee is custodian of risk management program in any organization. When I say risk management program, so BCMS is also part of that risk management program. So a lot of inputs can come from them, in especially relating to uh, disruption which can happen because of global issues, like COVID-19 is a global issue which is impacting continuity of operations for any organization. Once you have established that, so the next step is risk assessment, where you have to identify risks in reference with those issues and opportunities which you have identified, and you have to identify how those things can impact the organization. So what kind of impact they have on the organization. On the basis of those impacts, another thing needs to be reviewed is current controls and processes which you have in the organization. Once you have identified the current controls, so you can evaluate which what kind of a likely, what are the chances of materializing or those particular risk events. So so this input can be taken on the basis of past data and trends, or chances of happening in the future, right? Once you have done, so you can give a scoring to impact and the likelihood, and then you can get a risk score on basis of which we can say that there are certain risks which are above the threshold. So you need to prioritize them and establish a strategy to reduce their chances of happening. So how you can do that? You have to establish new controls and improve your processes, or build certain uh, technological controls which can help organization to overcome those things. On the basis of that, so organization organizations can establish a risk treatment plan. So when I say risk treatment, so risk treatment can have four kind of strategies where they can treat it, terminate it, tolerate it. So tolerate means where organization has accepted that we will live with this kind of a risk. So they shall also be reported to apex body, mainly the audit committee of the organization, right? And shall be approved by the board, right? Once your risk treatment plan is ready, so you can start with the recording and reporting the progress of those that particular. So so the inputs from communication and consultation will keep on coming at all stages. So once you start running this program, risk management program, so you will keep on getting new inputs from internal and external stakeholders also. So there are few terms which are relating to BCMS, very important. So we will touch upon them during my next slides. So one of the important term which is used is MTPD, which is maximum tolerable period of disruption. This is very important. So basically we are defining uh, how much time we can stop this particular process so it don't impact our services to our customers. So basically, we are saying that if we stop a particular machine in a production line for say 2 hours, it will not impact much my supply chain management. Or I stop this particular server for this much, say for 1 hour, so it will not impact my operations at that point much in that particular organization. The second term which is very important is RTO, which is recovery time objective. Now my recovery time objective shall be less than MTPD. Suppose my MTPD, which is maximum tolerable period of disruption, is say 2 hours. So I'm saying that I can stop this machine for 2 hours. That means I shall do a recovery of operations for that particular machine in less than 2 hours. So my RTO shall be say 1.5 hour or 1 hour, right? So this is RTO. Now another very important term is RPO, which is recovery point objective. Now this is a point to which information used by that particular process shall be restored. Means, say there's a server which is very critical. So we take a backup of that critical server every 4 hours. So that means we have said the RPO for that particular server is 4 hours, right? That means if that particular server goes down and we lose that data on that particular server, right? So the maximum chances of losing data on that particular server is 4 hours, because my last backup taken for that server will be 4 hours earlier to that particular incident, right? Now, another very important term is MBCO, that is minimum business continuity objective. Now, this term defines the level of service and product that are acceptable to organization. Like they are saying that we can tolerate this much hours to achieve the business objectives of that particular disruption. That disruption shall not go beyond this minimum period.
Excuse me.
We are going. Hello.
Please explain RPO again from the mechanical point of view.
RPO, sir?
From the mechanical point of view.
RPO from mechanical point of view is like, say, like I have worked a lot with the MES systems, manufacturing engineering system. So the product which we are going to which we were making, we shall not suppose tire is cured on a machine, right? So if machine goes down, the process under which that tire was made, we shall not lose that particular material beyond that particular hour. Suppose tire was going from one stage to another stage. So they were doing certain process when the disruption happened. So my RPO for that particular tire is when the last process was done, right? Hello. Hello.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. It's okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. So business continuity program, which all documents shall be made. So initially from clause 4.1 and 4.2, we will create a business continuity management scope, and on the basis of that scope, policy shall be established, and your BCMS objectives shall be aligned with that particular BCMS policy. So for those all policies objectives, you need to identify KPIs to monitor those objectives, right? When we are defining a scope, so we will also create a list of processes and application which will be part of that scope, right? So on the basis of this input, the next step will be your business impact analysis and risk assessment. So you have to establish basically 3 processes, right? The process for risk assessment, process for business impact analysis. Basis of this process of risk assessment, you need to create a context of interested parties and their requirement. And the output will be organization level risk assessment and process level risk assessment. So you will get these 2 inputs, and you will also get a business impact analysis for all the processes. On the basis of these 3 things, what you will get the prioritized processes for which recovery has to be done first, and in which priority. And you will also get what all risks need to be mitigated to meet those objectives which you have established. Plus, you will also come to know process level risks which you need to build in your functional recovery plans. So what you will do the first thing document which you have to create is a strategic level document for business continuity plan. So input will come from your business impact analysis as well as organization level risks, and come you will establish who all are responsible for running this program, right? What are their responsibilities, which all processes need to be prioritized, what all resources will be required. So everything will be included in your business continuity plan. On basis of that, the first plan which you will create is called incident recovery, and some people also call it crisis recovery plan. Now, here the focus will be on on safeguarding your people and place and assets. The things which generally are included in incident recovery is what will be response in case of building evacuation, in case of fire, in case of earthquake, in case of epidemic, in case of any other disruption which has a physical impact. So these all things, floods, right, riots. So all these things will be included in crisis recovery plan. The second plan, which will be supported, is IT disaster recovery. Now, this is more focused on your IT platforms, whether used in manufacturing or your business operations, right? So how the machine engineering system recoveries will be done, how your cloud-based system recoveries will be done, how your physical servers will be recovered, how your networks will be recovered. So these are all things will be included in this. The third important plan category of plan is the functional recovery plan. Now, on the input of business impact analysis and process level risks, so functional recovery plans will be established where you will define how the recovery for that particular function will be done in three scenarios. The first scenario which needs to be addressed is if your primary location is not available. So how people will respond in that case. The second scenario is if your IT infrastructure is not available, how that function or process will keep on running, right? The third scenario is if the competent people are not available, who are generally running that particular operation. These three scenarios needs to be built into functional recovery plan. Once that is done, then the next step is to establish your process for exercising and testing, to build a exercising and testing schedule. On the basis of that, you have to keep on running your exercising and testing program. So your exercising record shall be documented, your learnings will come, so you can rebuild, keep on building, updating your functional recovery plans or IT disaster recovery plan, incident recovery plan through the learning from mock drills. You will also keep on updating your risk treatment plan. So there are certain supporting processes needs. So documented information, so control of documents will be required. Then internal audit process, management review process, non-conforming products and service process, corrective action related process. So these all processes needs to be established. And very importantly, training and competency improvement also. Because this is the only standard which is talking about two kind of competencies. One are normal competencies required for running normal operation, and the second thing is running the operation during disruption and startup. So you need a different kind of a competency. So you need to include those aspects also in your competence development program. Now I'm going to touch upon how our organization shall respond and for a situation COVID-19 like a situation. So the first thing organization need to do is declaration of major incident and communication. So they need to inform somebody in management team to the guy who's responsible for business continuity management program need to declare that this is a major incident, and he shall ensure through business continuity manager that all business recovery team members shall be informed. So this can be done through activation of call trees. Once that is done, the evacuation of staff from premises is another very important aspect. Then media communication is another very important aspect depending upon operations of of a organization. Like I have been working with a few banks and insurance company. These all organizations need to, they have published on social media as well as print media and electronic media. So how they are going to respond in case of business continuity. So that is very important. The second thing is relocation of their teams. So first thing is set up a command center. In such situation, have created a virtual command center because people are, the senior management as well as other people are working from home. So virtual command centers, people have used various platforms. So this is very important that so the senior management team and the team which is responsible for recovery um, is in touch. The second thing is activate and redirect alternate sites. In COVID-19 like situation, so where work from home is applicable to most of the things, but for banks and for insurance company, sometimes there are certain operations which can't be run from home, like customer support call centers. So they are running these centers with a limited resources. Another example is in case of manufacturing unit, all essential service staff are working from that particular uh, manufacturing unit. So they can't work from home in those conditions. Then another important aspect is to redirect customer and stakeholders communication to alternate sites. Right. So the technology has made this really easy because most of guys have handheld phones and laptops, so they can interact through emails with their customers. The next very important aspect is functional recovery. Now, retrieving required item resources from operate their primary site and taking it to home. I'll give you another example of a client who are into manufacturing of chemicals. So their sales team has sales team's back office person manager has taken the scanner and a printer to his home, so he can keep on in case required. He can send certain important documents and communication to customers and other stakeholders, right? Because already they have dispatched certain important consignment which were at ports. So certain documents and certain exchange needs to be done with their logistic partners and shipping companies. Then inform suppliers and vendor contractor for coordination of process activities. So that is also very important. Like for again, I'm giving an example of that insurance company. So they have a partner who scan all claims document and policy document and give it to that particular company. So what they have done, they have redirected courier company keep on delivering those all couriers to one of the guys, and he's coordinating sending those documents to these 2-3 guys who are responsible for scanning those documents and uploading into the system. So this kind of coordination will be required. So then you have to carry out operation at alternate sites, and then you have to keep on getting daily status how teams are performing, what are the difficulties they are facing. So you need to communicate with the command center and head of departments on those aspects. Another important aspect is IT disaster recovery. Now, in situation like this, no system has gone out, right? But the end user resource allocation is very important aspect. Now, I have seen certain clients who were looking for laptops on rental, and some are buying additional devices to enable their critical people at this moment, because they have never in their life thought about that whole of their team will be not operational for 3 or 4 weeks. So this is unprecedented situation which they never thought of. Another very important aspect which IT disaster recovery team is information security planning. When I say information security, security of not only IT, even documents which are being taken, which are being taken by employees to their home. So security of those information is very important, right? And then monitoring all these aspects by IT team, by security team is another challenge which they have to think of. Then then the another aspect on which teams have to work at outsource services. So activation notification, service delivery proof, how those outsourcing has been working. Say, look, the manufacturing units which come under essential service, so they need to coordinate with their outsource services partner. So they have to arrange for permissions for those partners, and ensure that deliveries are being done by them, and need to monitor those services also, right? Uh, then role of business continuity management team and senior management team is another very important thing area, where top management need the command center, which was established in earlier part, needs keep on monitoring the situation. Even if you have a multi-locational operation, so have to look at things very differently for different location, right? BCM, business continuity managers, have to coordinate and with various team. This chief risk manager has certain duties also, because he has to keep on informing board members and other external stakeholders, authorities. Maybe if you are a bank, you have to keep on informing RBI about the situation, how the operations are being delivered in such a situation. Of course, then the responsibility of function heads to make operations smooth. And next very challenging aspect is a return to normal. Now communicating to employees, and then switching over to primary side, bringing those resources which have been allocated to team to that primary side itself is a huge challenge. Then operations from primary locations, ensuring data and records are synchronized from laptop to their primary systems. Then updating risks register for corona pandemic and interdependencies, and which needs to be looked into a greater prospect for better preparedness in the future. Then updates also will come in their functional recovery, IT, disaster recovery, incident recovery plans. This is very important. Um, Friends, I'm open for question. If you have any question, please let me know.